Howdy, folks. What's going on? This is Outlaw Hatfield back at you one more time. Guys, I'm running late tonight by about 23 minutes, it looks like. Sorry about that. I got caught up over in Never Enough Ammo's chat. We're going to blame him, even if it ain't his fault. Guys, I'm joined right now with the Crazy Scotsman. How you doing, Scotsman?
I'm doing all right, brother. I've had better days, but I did have a couple of nice packages in the mail, so I'm all right.
Oh, what did you get in the mail? Can you show us? Can we see?
Can you see that? Can you see that, people? Someone sent me a flag. Badass. America.
That is a nice flag, too. So how's that going anyway? How's your citizenship thing going?
I still got to file the paperwork. I got to save the money first. That's not cheap. It's $900, so I got to save the money. But once I get that, I'll file the paperwork, and then it's just waiting for the time when I have to take tests. So.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll get that worked out, and you'll be a U.S. citizen, and we'll be a better country for it. We've just been joined by Night Strike. How you doing, cuz?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Not bad. We had a good show over on Never Enough. Well, as good as it could be expected on Never Enough Ammo's chats. Anyway, no, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It's certainly probably going to be better than this shit show, but that's okay. Next, we have G Webbs. How you doing, G? Welcome to the show, man.
Good. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, anytime. You know you're always welcome. And, of course, we have my co-host, Gizzard Gary. How you doing, Gary, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, what's new in your life? Anything?
I'm taking a week off of vacation, trying to get my daughter moved this week. So, a lot of fun stuff there.
Yeah, that's an interesting proposition.
Yep. Has to be done.
How far away is she moving?
Oh, about 75 miles. Basically to the town right next to where she works. So it'll be a good move for her.
Well, yeah, it's always better to be closer to work than further away.
Good for her, bad for me.
It's I'm traveling an hour to get to work every day. So
yeah, half hour for me.
So it's a pain in the rear, isn't it?
Well, I've been doing it for over 20 years, so I'm used to it. But so now when I go to see her, it's going to be a 2-hour drive now. That's going to be kind of tough.
Well, let's check and see who's all waiting out in the lobby here. We have Scotsman. Scotsman, you don't have to say anything out there, brother. You in here. We have the Gun Snob. We have Caleb's out there. Let's see who else. Zippy's out there. Roll call, Mr. Gixer. 9mm. Where's your husband at, Milla? William Trader's out there. Gunpowder Beauty, Obnoxious. Night Strike's out there. Where is Midnight? He's still at work?
He's probably making somebody some fries or something.
Don't forget, we do have a roast coming up with him here in the next few weeks. So that'll be interesting.
Oh, God, we're not roasting him, are we?
Yes. Midnight Range was unanimously voted on last week. So it was
All right, well, then we have to cook him at medium high at 375 degrees Fahrenheit.
For how long?
I would say give him a good 20 minutes.
Yeah.
30.
I got a feeling we're going to go a little longer than that. We're going to burn his ass. I got a feeling. Well, guys, since we're running late, we're going to jump right on into this thing. We've all heard the stories and nightmare scenarios. Your neighbor thinks that you've lost your freaking mind. She calls the police. The police show up with a warrant wanting to search your house because the neighbors done went and told them that you own firearms and they think you're nuts. And the police take your guns. Temporarily, maybe not. You are put into a hospital for a little while for some evaluation, and you get out, but you don't get your guns back. Now, the question of mental illness and firearms ownership has been debated for years and years and years and years and years. There has to be some point to draw a line. There really has to be some point. And as far as I know, nobody in this chat right now has any kind of degrees in mental health. We're not psychiatrists, psychologists. You know, we're just normal everyday guys that's going to discuss this a little bit and then, you know, get our points of view on the matter out there. You know, you got soldiers coming back from, you know, the Middle East with, you know, PTSD, and people are hollering, well, these people don't need guns, they're just not safe. You know, you got senators saying that they all have some kind of mental illness. Well, in my most humble of opinion, is there's not a person in the world that hasn't had a nervous breakdown at one point in time or another, or suffered some type of depression. And that is a natural, normal human thing to go through.
Especially if they come back from war.
Yeah, especially if they come back from war.
You know, if that happens after they come back from war, well, they're trying to process all that shit that they had to deal with somewhere that wasn't their home.
Yeah, but the question lies is, does that make them unable to safely own a firearm? Are they just going to go off at the flip of a switch and start shooting up places or people?
No, it shouldn't. But I do believe that in certain situations, maybe they need some sort of, and I know I'm going to get yelled at, but maybe they need some sort of program where they ease them back into society instead of just, say, okay, you went to war, you came back, you're out.
So what you're basically saying is, if they go to war, they come back, and they had guns before they went to war, privately owned, it's their own firearms, we take those guns away from them until they have some kind of evaluation?
No, that's not what I said. I said we help them ease back into society from being in war for however long they were in war.
But basically, what Nice Strike's trying to say is, instead of just throwing them back to society and saying, fuck you, we help them and grow them so they can go back into society and actually maintain an actual job and grow as a human being, instead of just throwing them out there and leaving them to the wolves, and half of them are up on the streets homeless.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we can all agree with that. I mean, that in a perfect world, that makes a lot of sense, but that's not what's going on. You know, you have these vets coming back,
Sadly, no.
And what you're getting is, well, they're nuts. They're nutcases. They're not sane. They shouldn't have guns. They shouldn't have access to firearms. And I in my personal opinion, if you're going to go down that route, then anybody that's got any kind of mental health issues, whether it's your nerves or, a phobia, they could essentially say, well, he's got a mental health issue, air quotes, and therefore he does not need to have a firearm. G, what's your take?
This is an interesting topic, so thanks for posting it. I don't know much about it, so I did a quick Google search, how many vets are homeless, and the first thing I found here was some sort of a resource called the National Alliance to End Homelessness. I don't know anything about that other than it was the first thing that showed up in Google, and according to it, if it's correct, it says in January 2016, communities identified about 40,000 homeless veterans, and that represents a substantial decrease, 56% decrease since 2010. And it says, while veterans continue to remain an overrepresented proportion of the homeless, we're talking about 40,000 people. And what are we talking about here? That these people shouldn't have guns? These people aren't doing anything. Name anything that's happened from a homeless vet. They're not dangerous. They may be going through shit, but I suspect, they might be more, I don't know, able to go out on their own and more inclined to go out on their own because of their mindset. But I don't think that there's any history or any kind of stats to look at that would suggest that they're dangerous and that they shouldn't own a gun because of they're homeless. So I'm not aware of, I don't know how many combat veterans we have. Obviously, most people that go into the military don't become combat veterans, but there's got to be a lot more than 40,000. I don't think it's accurate to say that the people coming home from combat are just thrown out there. They're transitioned out the same way we've been transitioned out since whenever we started a standing army in the Civil War and World War I and World War II, and that has evolved. But the idea of brotherhood and people coming home and not coming home and people being able to depend on each other, that hasn't changed. And the government certainly isn't there to do that. That's our brothers that do that. So I don't know that this is an issue so much. I think this is a perceived issue. I don't think veterans are dangerous or causing any trouble. I mean, if you can count one or two, that's an outlier. That's not an indication of a whole group of people.
Oh, I happen to agree with you. I think the biggest issue here is when it comes to mental illness, it's a targeted area where the liberals can say, okay, if we can get them to say, well, this group of people has just come back from combat, just come back from Afghanistan. They were on the lines. They've been in battle situations. They can't be right in the head. I think that's the spin they're trying to get on this. It's taking.
Here's my thing with that. Unless they served, fuck them. They have no opinion.
Right. Well, there's another caveat on to the whole mental illness thing. I'm going to say this the best way possible I can say this. And there are mental conditions. Some of them are permanent. Some of them are only temporary, like, say, maybe, temporary breakdown because they due to stress or, as you said, temporary depression because, life has just decided to really kick you hard in the balls. There's things like that. And there are a lot of conditions that mentally can be fixed if you get the help. Okay. But that help should not outweigh or overshadow your right to safety. There go your right to own firearms. But in some states, if you get any help, any mental help whatsoever, basically they take away that right from you. That's that right of safety, that right to own firearms. And California is a specific one that does that. I don't know. I know there are a few other states that do that. I don't remember which ones off the top of my head. But the problem is there are curable conditions, and then there are non-curable conditions.
If they're reaching out for
schizophrenia
help,
and whatnot.
If they're reaching out for help, why do you have the right to take their shit? They're reaching out for help. They want to get help so they can get better and move on. Just because they say, hey, I got a problem, doesn't mean you can go ahead and take all their stuff.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. If you have admitted that you need help and you go willingly to get help and there is help available for you to get, then why are you listed as a danger, whereas the guy that gets taken in and brought in by the police is a seen threat, but they're not taking his guns away?
I don't know. I mean, people are throwing the word slippery slope around like crazy anymore. And this is truly a slippery slope. Because let's say you're outside, you've got a gun on your hip, you're mowing your yard, your neighbor walks out, they see the gun, they call the police, tell them they think that you might be dangerous because you got a gun. The police goes and talks to a judge. Judge issues a warrant. They show up. They search your house. They take your guns. They lock you up for a week. You get out. You no longer have a right to bear arms because some nosy neighbor decided to put her nose in where it did not belong, and you weren't doing anything illegal to begin with.
Is that theoretical, or is that actually happening?
Well, apparently it has happened in Florida. If I read this,
so and what I guess my question is, when something happens once, is it because whatever the process is doing its job, or if it happens, like a flood of times, I could see it like being too broad a scope, and like innocent people are being caught up in it. But if it happens once, do we say, oh, the system happened, the system was triggered, like we have to get rid of the system? I'm not for the system or nothing, but I'm just saying, is this one guy, do you know that he wasn't actually crazy? You're the one who's for getting rid of guns from crazy people.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. If it happened, if it's an isolated incident, it happens once, something happens. Oh well. If it's not an isolated incident and it happens more than once in a given location, then what?
Then you find out if the filter is too broad or something, and or they're abusing their the discretion or whatever of how they implement it, right?
I'm looking the story up because I want to make sure about exactly what it said.
Hey, I don't know about that state, but in my state, I don't think the law's going to haul you in for having a gun on your hip in your own yard. That's totally legal.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, exactly. If they come up and say, what are you doing there? And you go, oh, I'm mowing my lawn, and you don't reach for your gun or something. And they're like, why you got a gun on? Like, oh, I don't know, because I'm outside and, I carry a gun. And they're like, okay, well, see ya. You know what I mean? The cops are going to come up, figure out you're not crazy, and leave. Now, if there's somewhere that I'm not familiar with where if the cops are called, no matter what, there's a no, what do they call it in school? Like a no gun policy, where like if somebody calls you, no questions asked, they're taking your guns. That would be heinous. Like that, okay. But is that happening somewhere?
There's a couple of states that have the red flag law going right now. And if someone calls, they can literally go out there with a court order and take their guns.
Right. Now, if there's if the call is what instigates the court order, then yeah, that's crazy. That's way beyond any.
There's got to be more than that.
Well, here's the story, and I'll read to you what it says here. And
hold on. Even if they did something where they set it all up, like the cops aren't even going to roll to your house unless they've got this warrant. So if somebody calls and says this guy's crazy, they're saying our problem is that when we go to the house, that's when we start the procedures, and it's too late sometimes. So if they're saying, okay, somebody calls and says this guy's crazy and he's mowing his lawn, then the cops go to the house with a warrant in hand because they do some kind of escalated warrant procedure or something. So now if the cops get there and it's their discretion and they go, oh, wow, this guy is crazy. He's mowing his lawn with a gun and he's about to do something crazy. We've got the warrant. We're taking care of business. I can almost understand like that concept. But if it's like, oh, I think this guy's got a gun, and then it's like click, click, click. We come to the house, we take his guns, and then we see what's going on. That's crazy.
Well, here's the story. Broward County judge on Friday issued the state's first order of temporarily removing guns from a person under Florida's new gun control laws. The firearm and 267 rounds of ammunition, that I don't even know why they bothered putting that in there because that's such a low count of ammo. Why? That's nuts. Ammunition were ordered to remove from the 56-year-old Lighthouse Point man who was determined to be a potential risk to himself or others. The guns and ammunition have been temporarily removed. It said that twice, by the way, from the man under the state's new risk protection law, which also sometimes called a red flag legislation. Lighthouse Point attorney Michael Crillo confirmed. The man was also taken to a hospital for involuntary psychiatric treatment under the state's Baker Act. But the civil ruling removing his access to guns and ammunition was granted under new legislation, which permits confiscating of guns from people who have not been committed but are deemed potential risk to themselves or others, according to orders signed by Broward's Chief Judge Jack Tudor. The man is also prohibited from trying to purchase or obtain guns or ammunition from any source. Legislation is part of the bill signed 1 week ago by Governor Rick Scott. The new laws impose some restrictions on gun sales. We all know about all this, giving law enforcement new power to take action when they have evidence that the person may pose a danger. Well, here's the thing about that. Just because you're carrying a gun, just because you own a gun, just because you have a gun on you or in your house, or you're walking around your yard with a gun or whatever, does not make you a danger. And this guy was apparently a concealed weapons holder. So, where was I here? Law enforcement new power to take action. They have evidence that the person may pose a danger. The National Rifle Association immediately filed a lawsuit in federal court in Tallahassee, challenging some aspects of the law, including the legality of banning gun sales to people under the age of 21. So, yeah, who there determines whether or not this guy is legally allowed to own a gun? Is the judge a psychologist? Did he have any, prior mental illness? Has he been put in mental hospitals before? Did he have any signs that he might not be sane? What gives a court the right just to out of nowhere say, well, we're taking your guns?
Well, Travis out in the chat says there's more to the story.
Well, there probably is. You got to remember where the story's coming from. It's, news media. And there's always three sides to every story. Their side, his side, and then somewhere in the middle lies the truth. And we will probably never get the truth of the matter. But it's still a conversation that needs to be had.
Let's take the flip side of this. So this guy had someone called and they went and took his guns and took him into custody. Yeah, you have someone who is illegal comes in over more than 5 times and then goes and kills someone in California. How does that happen? You can't. Literally, you got to allow someone to make a phone call and say, "This guy's got a gun. I'm not comfortable," and they go take his gun. He's a concealed carry permit holder, and I'm sure there is more to this story, just like that was set out in the side chat. But at the same time, you have this guy that's been in the country more times than he should have been. After number one, he should have just been freaking sent off and period, that done with, or sent to jail or whatever, and done. But comes back 4 more times and then kills someone with a gun.
I think the mental health issue that we are dealing with in this country is something that needs to be discussed. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be hashed out. The thing about it is when it gets to the point where the left is using something like mental illness to say, well, you can't have a gun when there's no prior history to said mental illness, and unless you've got a doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, somebody that can verify that, okay, yeah, he's got issues. He is a danger to himself or to others. Then yes, I see that. But if there's no documented evidence to it, what gives anybody the right to say he can't own that firearm? I personally don't see how that is anywhere close to being legal. It to me, it's just mind-boggling. You know, it's like this the kid that shot up the school last year, or was it earlier this year? You know, it's he had told them point blank. Sometimes I feel like I want to go shoot up a school, and they let this kid walk until he actually went up and shot up a school. You know, so you know, somebody tells you they need help and you ignore it.
Come on. 360 million people. Is there any idea how many high schools there are, let alone middle schools and elementary schools, where they might have dumb kids who do dumb things? But how many high schools do we have in the U.S.? Come on, you tell me anything? Won't tell me real quick? Nope, it won't tell me. Oh, I bet how many high schools.
You know, if somebody shows up and says, I think I'm going to snap, I think I'm going to shoot somebody.
26,000 high school. I'm going to say how many high school students? There's 50.7 million high school it says elementary and secondary students in the fall of 2017. All right, so I guess that's telling us 35 of them will be kindergarten through 8th grade. 15 million will be in grades 9 through 12. You're going to tell me 15.9 9 through 12 graders, and only one actual sick kid told the FBI, I'm going to do something crazy that they didn't act on? Or do they get out of those 5.2 million dumbass kids who pull fire handles and think it's funny to call in bomb threats to get out of a test? Do you think they get flooded with those things?
Oh, probably.
Well, come on. That's all I'm saying. Do we want a government that can actually pursue every time a 9th through 12-year-old decides to make a claim like that? Gets frustrated and says it in earnest? I don't want a government that can pursue every one of those and find out if they... That's what we're literally in one side of our conversation. We're talking about how horrible it is that a government would go out and pursue any claims like this. And now we're saying, come on, they didn't catch this one kid out of 5.2 million.
Well, no, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is,
I'm just putting it in perspective.
Well, I understand, but you know, this kid had a prior record. He should have been on a watch list long before he even made that phone call. He had been arrested how many times? He'd been in trouble with the law. You know, and when you got somebody in, you know, with that kind of a history saying it, you know, you let the background of the character speak for itself. Then you make your decision on whether or not you want to follow up on it. Well, this kid has, you know, prior arrest records. He's been violent in the past. He's had other issues. So yeah, this one we need to take serious. And grant you, they can't vet them all. There's no way. It's an impossibility. But, you know, when you got that many red flags sitting there, you know, waving in front of you, that's when that's when you have to take a step back and say, okay, this one we need to pay attention to.
Well, I'd scorn the state after I see how many other red flags they had, how many similar situations they had. If it was... I'm with you if it was only one and it was like an obvious failure on their part because they were, you know, drinking coffee instead of doing their job. But if they've managed to maybe stop 12 out of that 5 million, 12 kids that earnestly were going to do something, and they were able to see the signs and do something, and, you know, they saw 200 that were really close, but they discerned those out, and they missed this one. This is one over how many years? Again, is this seriously a scourge? This is one kid who saw a bunch of stuff in the media and he knows that he's going to become infamous. I just don't want to see the terrorists win. Terrorists win when we become a feared society and allow Big Brother because of what act of one person.
Exactly. And that, you know, you can't live in fear. You cannot live in fear, and you know that's just another aspect of this whole conversation tonight about mental illness. Yes, there's going to be those people out there who are truly sick, who truly need help and slip through the cracks and do horrible, horrible things that none of us want to see. But it's going to happen. And whether it's done by a car or a gun or a bomb or something else, these people are out there and they will find a way. Now, does that mean everybody that's had a mental breakdown of some sort, does that mean everybody that's depressed going to do that? No. Should they all be blackballed? Should they all have their rights taken away from them? No, I don't agree with that either. You can't do that. But when you've got a situation where you know for a fact that the kid ain't healthy, the person is not right, then it's a different ballgame. But there's documented evidence there. You've had years to document the evidence. It's like going back to the people coming back from the military, from overseas. They've seen horrible things. They've done things that they probably have nightmares for the rest of their life. They're suffering from PTSD. Does that mean that they don't have a right to defend their lives? Is their lives not as important as anybody else's? I can't sit here and say that I think that we should disarm them, because there's not a person listening to this chat tonight or will listen to it in the future that has not at one point in time in their life or will in the future have a bout of depression or have a mental breakdown or have some other psychological issue pop up. Does that automatically mean that you're no longer allowed to have guns? That they can come in and strip your guns from you? And all it takes is a psychiatrist, psychologist, judge to say that they don't think you're fit. And it's who has the right to say that? Who has the right to say we're going to take your guns away from you because you are depressed? You checked yourself into a mental ward for a week because you were depressed, and now you're a danger to yourself and society because you were looking for help.
The end result of that is all you people that shoot 9mm are going to have your rights taken away, because that's a desperate cry for help. The metric choice is a cry for help.
Yeah, but that means the ones shooting the 40 calibers are just so confused they don't know whether or not they're coming or going.
Exactly. Only the 45ers will actually be carrying at that point.
Yeah. I'm glad I own a 1911.
You'll be safe.
Yep. We might lose Scotsman though. I'm not sure if he owns a 1911 or a 45 at all.
I do own a 45. Screw you.
Okay, so you're sane according to G-Webs, and we're counting.
It's just the future, and they start using different tests. They're gonna have to use some kind of rationale to figure out who's sane or not.
So anybody that carries a 45 is sane. 45 or bigger, we'll say. Anybody carrying a 45 or bigger is okay. Anybody carrying less is just not quite all there.
Questionable.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. What if it's a 357 Magnum?
Well, that's the.
I was gonna say, you can't take out the 357 mag or the 44 mag.
So now we go from bullet diameter to actual power of the round itself. In which case, a 357 SIG automatically makes it okay.
So what you're telling me, in the summertime when I'm wearing my shorts, I have to stick a 1911 in my shorts pocket and put on a pair of suspenders to hold them up? Or
No, I'm not telling you that. G-Webs is telling you that.
oh, okay. It's
He's the
going to look a
resident
little
expert.
funny.
Well, when some woman walks up to you and asks you if that's a gun in your pocket, or you're happy to see her, you can answer honestly.
I guess I could get a compact 45. They make them.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you could just man up and carry a full-size gun and just be done with it.
Man up, I carry a Glock. How much more manly can you get, man?
Oh, shit. And we're done with Gary. Moving on.
Yeah, well, now we know who on the panel has a mental illness.
That was fun.
We're not going to take your man card from you just yet, though, Gary.
Who said I had one?
We're going to say you're still sane enough to carry the Glock. We're going to get you some help, and maybe one of these days get you a CZ. Beretta, something other than a Glock.
1911.
Well, see, there you go. There you go.
Just because I got the best of both worlds,
But back on the topic at hand, Gary, what's your intake on all this? What is it that you feel would constitute somebody being able to take your guns away if you were supposedly mentally ill?
Well, I don't think mental illness in itself constitutes a danger to yourself or the people around you. I think they need to have something a little bit more certifiable that you've made threats or something to that effect of you very well could and have shown a tendency to, be dangerous to somebody, then maybe even at that. But just because the fact you're depressed or something like that, I mean, lots of people are depressed. Lots of people go in to seek treatment. Hell of it is, it's kind of hard to get mental treatment anymore. It's not like you can go into a doctor at a free clinic and just go get a shot for the flu. It'd be about like if you had the flu and they said, well, we're just going to take your guns away from you and nobody can be around you or anything like that. Well,
yeah.
They don't treat people with mental illness. They just label them and stick them somewhere. It's because there's a stigma about mental illness in this country. There's not enough professionals out there to treat it, and there's no funds available to treat it. In most states, they won't put the funding into it they need to. So it's like, let's just leave these people to twist and rot, instead of getting them some help. Or they give them pills and say, here, this will fix the problem. Which just makes the situation worse in a lot of cases.
Well, that's what I was about to say. In a lot of cases, those pills do more harm than good, because then they're walking around like zombies most of the time. They're just slightly outside of reality at that point. Ghost Tactical's out there. I've seen you, Ghost. Brother, I sent you a link if you want to jump in here. It's over on the gun channel side.
So what is it about guns that's so much more dangerous that these people are unsafe with guns, but they can still drive, they can still have access to just the hardware stores, chemical supply stores, pool stores?
Walk down to the gas station, fill up my 5-gallon gas can full of gas, and go set the neighbor's house on fire. No problem.
Exactly. Like, what's so dangerous about a firearm? It's just another. I don't think it's about crazy people. There's always been crazy people. Crazy is just a term you use for somebody who's not thinking right. That's not a physical thing necessarily always.
I resent that.
When somebody goes, nuts or something, it's not like a physical thing that had indications or warnings all the time. Like, look at that airplane guy the other day. So to suggest that there's crazy people can be solved because of the implements that some of them choose to pick up, in fact, very few of them choose to pick up, is all a red herring. They know that they can push this button, this mental thing, and of course the mental people are the ones that do this horrible shit and choose firearms. But I think that it's all just to really just an anti-gun type campaign. And I don't know, I think that by trying to give them serious like thought, come on, seriously, like the government is ever going to come up with some way to deal with mental health? I mean, they can't even deal with physical health, things like a broken arm and things like a heart, issue, or like, chemical imbalances that are physical, like cancers and stuff. They can't deal with any of that. Why would they also be able to deal with mental at all? So I think that I don't know. We have to talk about it, I guess, but I think we're playing right into one of their ambushes by giving this too much time of day. Like, this is an unmeasurable thing, an uncurable thing. It's like saying, let's get rid of car accidents. What can you possibly do to a car to stop somebody from being distracted?
Not a thing. And I agree with you. I think that it is a trap, and it is one that we are, as a people, falling into. Obnoxious. I don't have your email. I don't think. Does anybody have his email?
I don't think I do.
Email? Whose email?
Obnoxious one.
No.
And I don't see him on the gun channel side. So, Ghost, if you have his email, you can jump in here and send him one, or you can send me his email and I'll get him in here. I do not have a problem with that whatsoever.
It's under regisfilbert@outlook.com.
Oh, okay.
It says my name at Outlook. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to say his name out loud. Sorry, Regis.
Well, let's see if this will work here.
You've been exposed.
Oh, Lord.
Maybe that's the problem. Phoenix is saying most mental health issues can all be solved with a kitten or a puppy. And look at the left, constantly making people spay or neuter to get rid of puppies and kittens, right? Because they want sick people. How could a crazy person do anything crazy if on the way there's nothing but kittens and puppies all around?
I mean, that obviously works because I'm a cat owner and I'm not the least little bit crazy.
It just falls into the whole thing of trying to make everyone comply and be a freaking snowflake, and it's all going to be better on the other side of the rainbow, this, that, the other. Yeah, that's not how it works. The world is evil. There's evil people. Evil people are going to do what they're going to do regardless.
Right, and that's the thing. And then the number of crazy people is what to look at in the frequency, right? And since all that's going down, I mean, literally everywhere. I'm not even exaggerating, right? Like, it goes down. They're trying their hardest to poke it the last few times that it's been happening here to talk about it, to make it seem like it's more frequent. But there's, like I said, there's always going to be that crazy person.
Well, crime in this country in general has been dropping across the board.
Right.
So, saying that somebody that's, got PTSD or deals with depression is going to go out and kill somebody. Well, if crime is dropping across the board, wouldn't that be dropping as well?
Plus, if somebody's got some kind of mental problem, wouldn't it be better if they got a gun and then they just got into shooting, and then they'd be all like get into reloading or something, or into 3-gun, and then they'd have
be therapeutic. Yeah,
exactly. They'd have like friends now and like things to do on the weekends and things to spend money on.
Obnoxious. Welcome to the panel, buddy. What's your take on all this?
Regis?
Excellent point.
We can't hear you.
I'm assuming he's having some kind of technical difficulties.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give him a minute or two.
That's fine. That's fine. We're a patient bunch. Well, except for crazy. But that's because he's crazy, and he's a Scotsman. He
I
wants
resent the fact I am not crazy. How dare you say so?
Yeah, whatever. Tell it to some.
Eventually, we'll get him to also say he's not a Scotsman anymore. He's an American. Eventually.
And that will be a happy day indeed. Scotsman,
Well,
while we're waiting on Obnoxious, you're the only one in here that actually works in the firearm industry. What's your take?
It's a huge gray area, and it's a tough thing for me to talk about because there's so many gray areas when it comes to guns, and the process of selling guns. There are so many things that if someone marks something wrong on the form, automatically I can't sell it to them unless they can prove something to me, and that has to go through federal, and it's just there's a lot of different things that come into play. With the whole mental aspect of it, it's a tough one. I mean, with the red flag laws, I don't agree with the red flag laws whatsoever. It's bullshit. It's for someone to call up and say, "Hey, this guy's got a gun. I think he's crazy," and the cops to show up and take his guns. That's retarded. That is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. I carry every single damn day. What's someone gonna do? Walk into my gun store and say he's got a gun on him? Call the cops and freaking the cops gonna show up at the gun store and take my gun? Come on, dude. Really?
How about now?
We hear you.
All right.
So,
Now,
what is your take on all this?
Well, I'm out there in the chat doing a slow burn, and I'm pretty sure that Too Hottie was too, because as someone who has a mental illness and is a gun owner, the stuff that you could touch on here is you're not even aware of it.
Okay. Well, enlighten us.
I am terrified that someday they will show up looking for my guns, because I am not afraid to let people know that I do suffer from major depression. I have fought with it my whole life, and in 2006 I lost my business, my best friend, and pretty much everything that meant anything to me except for my wife. And that sent me over the edge completely, and I have been on disability for depression since then. And I cope with it with a healthy dose of medication and a healthy dose of being away from people, because I cannot cope with people anymore. I just don't have it in me. I limit my interactions with people because that's what works for me. And when I have to fill out the 4473, there's always, that's the have you ever been adjudicated, which I have not been. Or it's have you, committed yourself, which when I was 18, I did for a week. And then I couldn't apply for my FOID in Illinois for 7 years after that. I had to fill out my concealed carry permit here for North Carolina, and I had to sign a release to release my medical and mental health records to get my concealed carry permit. So, as somebody who's out there on both Second Amendment rights and mental health issues, it's terrifying, because they could come at me, and I'm sure I'm on a list someplace. And I also don't think that anybody besides me and my wife has any business making that determination on whether I should have them or not. Did I shock everybody into
No,
silence?
nope, that ain't it at all. I was busy sending out an email. Hottie was asking for a link. Hottie, I sent you one. Should be in your email. Um, and I agree with you. Nobody has the right to tell you just because you're dealing with a depression or depression period that you don't have a right to defend your life. Your life is as important as anybody else's. Um, and that's the problem. That's the issue. Uh, it could theoretically get to the point where just telling your doctor or your doctor saying that you have a phobia of something will be enough for the government to say, well, that's a mental illness. You're afraid of spiders. You can't have guns.
Exactly. And as somebody who has been in the deepest, darkest hole that you can possibly be in and still get out of it, I worry about that doctor saying anything. And there are plenty of people who are not going to go to the doctor for that very reason. Now, I manage mine fairly well. Most days I'm okay. But my best day, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. My worst days, there are still days. I've had friends talk to me about this. There are some days where the best thing I can do for myself is to go back to bed and get my dog.
I feel for you, obnoxious one. Been there, done that, lived through it, and come out the other side. Um,
Welcome, Hottie. What's your
Howdy.
take?
Oh, very long and convoluted. I mean, just this last Saturday was my 14-year anniversary of getting shot, and that's what that's what started all this stuff for me. That's what even brought me into the firearms culture. Yeah, I had a little bit of firearms. You know, I had friends who shot and friends' parents who shot and all that, and we'd go camping and we'd shoot and all that. But never once did I think that I would be an owner of a firearm and be a everyday concealed carrier and all that stuff. But I mean, the thing that comes to my mind is after you've been through the deepest of the deep and you've gone in, you've done your due diligence, you've sought help, you've gotten better, you have doctors who know your predicament, they know you, you've been seeing said. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been seeing every doctor that the two doctors I see, I've been seeing each of them for over a fucking decade. So they know me, I know them. They know when I'm bullshitting them. They know when I'm not. They know when I come in and I'm in a bad mood just by the freaking look that's on my face. And they also know that I fucking carry a gun, multiple guns. Um, I guess not multiple, but two every day. And every single time I talk to my main doc about it, he's just like, dude, I completely understand the way these politicians are pushing things and this and that, and I understand why you're worried about it, but he's like, he's like, you're not the people who these anti-gun politicians, who these anti and this he is a straight up liberal. I mean, he is as liberal as you can get, but he is also a little more libertarian than most. So he understands, freedom and the Second Amendment and the freedom to protect yourself, the freedom to even feel like you have a fighting chance if something like that were to ever happen again. Um, and I can guarantee you that he saw a change in me after I got my concealed carry permit and was able to start carrying, and I still don't. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know anybody else who I've never really talked to many people who have been in my same situation, but we don't like large crowds. We don't like crowded places. We don't like busy places. We don't, we try to stay away from stuff like that. And, I still don't like that sort of stuff, but I feel more comfortable actually being out and about and living life than with, okay, with with a firearm, with at least that little safety blanket or false sense of security or whatever anybody wants to call it, than just sitting in my dark room for 24 hours a day. I did that for a couple of years after getting shot. I mean, yeah.
Everybody has some sort of issue. I've got mine. Lottie, you've got yours. Obnoxious has got yours. We all have something in our lives that we dread, we fear, we are paranoid about. Something that throws us off. For me, it's driving. I am terrified of driving the car. Now, people say, why? When I was very young, I was in a very bad accident. I was in a Jeep that rolled over several times. I was, I guess, 4 or 5 years old at the time. And I was sitting in the driver's seat when it happened. I'm not going to get into the details, but there was some alcohol involved, and I shouldn't have been there to begin with, but I was. And no, I wasn't the one drinking, by the way.
I was just gonna ask. 5 years old, drinking, stole a Jeep, rolled it.
It was.
You were hard. You were hardcore at 5.
It was one of those situations where let's put the kid on the lap and let him drive.
Right. And this is also one of the situations we should talk about, because I mean, this quote PTSD, it's not just warriors coming back from
No, it's everybody. It's
people can get PTSD. People can get PTSD. I'm sorry, Els, but people can get PTSD from that car accident you're in. I've had surgeons who have told me about their mothers who were in car accidents, and they refuse to get in the vehicle in the front seat. Just weird. I'm not even going to say weird, because it's not weird to that person. It's weird to somebody who has no idea about how these things kind of change you physiologically, but it doesn't fucking make you insane.
Exactly.
It doesn't make you irrational or lose control of your faculties or insane or not able to put 2 and 2 together and understand what's going on. Yes, there are people who have serious flashbacks, and they don't know, they could be here right now and they could think that they were back in Iraq in 2003 or whatever it is. But for the most part, that's not that is a minority when it comes to the severity of it. And I won't even say that I haven't heard gunshots outside sitting inside my garage and heard gunshots that could have very well been just a block away, and I haven't hit the ground. I can't say that I haven't done that, but I mean, shit is what it is. But you get through that stuff, and
yeah. Well, the thing about my situation is this: I have never had a driver's license because of this. Every time I get in the front seat of a car, in the driver's seat, I freak out. It's just one of those things. I can see that day like it was just happened every single time. It
And
has cost
anybody,
it has cost me relationships. It has cost me jobs. It has cost me a whole lot in my life. Not being able to drive a car in this day and age is a disability. Period. Any way you want to look at it, it's a disability. But I can't do it. I've tried. You know, um,
and and Ellis, just what you're saying about there when it comes to your feelings about that. That's not that's not. That is very common. It's just not that certain situation. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, I know. And
Uh,
but the thing about it is I'm as sane as anybody else. I have never once thought about hurting anybody else or anything like that. It's just this is something that I deal with on a daily basis. Now, if I was to go and tell the wrong psychologist, the wrong psychiatrist, the wrong doctor, all that, and he said, "Well, I think you're nuts and you shouldn't be around guns because you're a danger to yourself or others," that's when it becomes bullshit.
Well, see, here's the thing. You're a Hatfield, which means you should be riding a horse and not driving a car.
Actually, I don't have a problem with that. Horses I can do. In fact, horses I do when I get a
Why
chance.
not?
I
You
haven't been on
do
one for
horses.
quite a while, but
Hold on.
Wow.
We said nothing about doing horses, okay?
yeah, hush up, boy. I know where you
So
live.
he's moved on from goats and sheep. Now it's horses.
I
no,
got
no,
news
no.
for you, Slimmy Jim.
Hey,
I know where you live too.
hey, I was gonna jump on that joke too, but we're kind of having a serious conversation here, so I think joking
But
time is
but
not
like
this time.
like I said, we all have our issues, all of us. And yes, I realize I just outed myself in front of the world. I don't care. I've dealt with this for 45 years. You can deal with it for the next 20 if I live that long. And for some reason, and I haven't figured it out yet, I've tried, it affects other people more than it has me. Because people think that I have lost my mind. I don't
Have
give a
you
damn.
have you tried talking to going to see anybody about that? Because I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just a mental health sufferer. But I would I would think that that would be something that somebody might be able to help you with.
Yeah, possibly, maybe. And
Well, no, I mean he did ask you a question, but you just pushed it off, and I'm not going to force you to give an answer. But I mean, he is completely right. I mean, there are certain things you can do. I mean, you can go talk to a counselor. You don't have to go talk to a shrink. You don't have to go talk to a
oh, I
psychiatrist.
have, I have.
And uh, a lot of times that sort of stuff can help. I mean, I shit, I did it, and I don't know how much it helped at the time, but hindsight being 2020, and I have to say it probably helped.
And it might not. I know for me that going and talking to somebody really didn't help. The medication helps, and my own coping mechanisms, such as, you know, having the wife buy me 27 acres that I can just kind of hide out on, and the guns and my motorcycle help me more than talking to somebody. But I mean, there's always the chance.
Yeah, and I kind of have a different opinion on that. I mean, I did the medication thing for 9 years, 10 years, close to a decade. I mean, we all know doctors these days. They like to throw whatever they can at you and just make the answer a fucking pill. And I finally got to the point two summers ago where I said, you know what, screw all these pills. I'm throwing all this shit in the garbage, and I quit everything cold turkey other than my pain meds because I'm a chronic pain sufferer, and that's one thing that I knew I could not even try to live without.
Well, and that's the
And
thing. It's it's different things for different people. Like I mean,
that's that. Hey,
outlaw's
that is
not going to
totally
go hop on a motorcycle and put 150 miles.
yeah. That is totally true. And I saw my
Yeah.
doctor like a month after I did this, and he's like, "Dude, what's going on? You're looking fucking good to me."
The
I'm like,
one that
"Well,"
did. What's that?
and I'm like, "Am I muted or what?"
No, we hear you.
Weird.
Well, was I interrupting somebody or?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm not. Might have been talking to somebody else.
It's all good. Go ahead.
Obnoxious, you got something?
Oh, I was just saying that that there's different things for different people. The medication worked for me. The talk therapy didn't. The talk therapy works for Too Hottie. The medication didn't. I mean, you're not going to go out. I mean, outlaw, you're not going to go out there and put 150 miles on a motorcycle in a day to burn off some of it. I will. I mean, it's just everybody's got different things that work for them.
And then that's the thing. We all have our ways of dealing with things, and we all have, me. I love to go out and shoot. To me, that is just therapy. Getting out and blasting away, that is therapy. That's why I enjoy going out to night strike so much. I wish I could get out there every weekend. I would. Um, and to have that taken away from me because of some fear that I'm not sane enough to own a gun. That's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's nuts. You know, um, somebody tells Hottie he don't need a gun because he's been shot. What kind of logic is that? He's suffering PTSD. You don't need a gun. That's to me irresponsible at best.
Well, not even. Okay, so there's a difference between currently suffering and being diagnosed 14 fucking years ago. So, I mean, things change, things happen, people get better. People, I'm not saying we ever get over anything, but we work our way through it, and we work our way through it on our time and in our own way. Um, so that's where I come in. I just say if I were ever to go try to buy a gun and something comes up and they're gonna start checking mental health records or doctor's records or whatever and be like, dude, you've been diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety. Um, we gave you Ambien, or your doctor gave you Ambien, so you're not able to sleep at night. So therefore, there's another mental illness. It's just like, really? And how long ago was this? And then if you really want to sit down and take a look at it, how many of our law? I mean, how many? Okay, I typed this out in the chat earlier, and I truly mean it. If you look at it as an average, what population of the continental U.S. is on some sort of antidepressant, some sort of anti-anxiety med, or some sort of sleeping medicine? It's well over 50%, 50 to 60, probably even 70%. And then me personally, I have to sit back and say, okay, well, that same percentage has to apply to cops, right? So and then it's probably even higher with cops because of what they see on a daily basis and what they have to deal with on a daily basis. So what makes them that much more able to carry a firearm and go about their daily day or and go about their daily business without doing something stupid and harming somebody with that when they shouldn't?
Yeah, I agree. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're about to call this one done for the night. We've been at it a while now. I would like to thank everybody that was on the panel, and give them a chance to say a few words before we get out of here. And we're going to start with the co-host tonight. Gary, what's going on with you, buddy? What you got coming up?
Oh, not a whole lot. Like I said, I'm going to be in and out of the house this week, helping my daughter move and try to maybe get some content recorded this week. So, look, subscribe to my channel. I'll try to get some stuff out, and I appreciate all my subscribers and everything. Join gun channels if you're not already a member. It's a great community of people. Check out guntube.org. And as always, like, share, and subscribe to the Outlaw Hatfield.
Thank you, Gary. Nightstruck?
Yeah, check out guntube.org. Hit or miss Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock. And yeah, well, Gary forgot to say it, so I don't know if I should say it or not.
Say what?
Give him the bird.
Yeah. You always got to give them the bird.
Let's also not forget, shall not be infringed.
This is true.
No fringes. Okay, we got you. Obnoxious, what you got, buddy?
Thank you for finally inviting me in after I was screaming at you at home and in the chat.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry if I broke the chat for a good 30 or 40 seconds there.
You didn't break nothing. I was in the middle of sending out an email.
But yeah, now I've probably got an idea for a video tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Been a couple. No, I think I didn't put one out last week. This is part of what we were talking about tonight. I just haven't really felt like doing anything, but I think tomorrow I'll film something and get it out. So anybody that's still out there in the chat and in here, keep an eye out for that, and you can see me rant about mental health tomorrow.
Well, we got you back, brother.
Hey, Ellis.
Yes, sir.
I just want to throw in there, I'd like to thank Obnoxious 1 and 2 Hottie for coming into the chat and giving us a little bit of a personal take on this. It definitely enhanced what we were talking about.
It certainly did, and I was going to mention that myself. Thank you, Gary.
You bet.
Scotsman, what you got going on?
Don't have a whole lot. Thanks for the invite as always. Always good to be here. Great panel. Good to have OB and 2 Hottie on here. Throwing a video tonight. If you guys didn't see it beginning of the chat, I did get a special gift from someone. It's pretty freaking awesome. So check that out. Other than that, guys, if you've not already helped out EdUSAF or CMAX, please do so. Hashtag help a brother out. That's all I got. Thanks, man.
Not a problem. 2 Hottie.
Yep. Thank you for the invite. I really don't have much to plug. Just thanks for having me.
Yep. Anytime, Hottie. Anytime, buddy. Guys, before I get out of here, I want to remind you of a few things. We've got this new hashtag we're trying to get out there. The hashtag is We Are Social Media. I would love to see videos from each and every person watching this chat tonight who has watched it. Put out a video or put a post out on Facebook and let these social media outlets know that everybody has a right to be heard, that we are social media. We are the ones that's putting out the content that's paying their bills. And just because they don't like something does not mean they shouldn't let it be put out there. We don't always have to agree with everything we see, everything we read, or everything we hear, but it still has a right to be said, like it or not. So if you would, guys, if you make content here on YouTube, if you make post on Instagram, if you make post on Facebook or Twitter, put something out there, anything with the hashtag We Are Social Media, and let them know that we're not okay with them silencing people just because they don't agree with the message that these people are putting out. Also, too, I'm going to be doing my regular scheduled show tomorrow. I'm not going camping, so I should be here for the whole hour tomorrow. Don't have anything planned really. We might recap a little bit of what we talked about tonight, maybe. Maybe go over some other things. Who knows? It's normally just a laid back show on Tuesdays. I do have some interviews coming up that are actually outside of the YouTube realm. I'm working on getting a 1970s 80s pro wrestler that I know on here. His name is Bill Dundee. Some of you older folks might know who that is. Some of you young ones probably never heard of him. But he was big in the Memphis area. He was NWA, old WCW. Very popular guy and had one of the best punches in the business in the early 80s. I mean, it looked like he was taking people's heads off. Let's see, anything else I got going on? Not that I can think of at the moment. But guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for showing up tonight. I appreciate everybody for watching. Remember to hit up gun channels. Tomorrow night we have Night Strike coming up. Tuesday nights at 9. Of course, you got Ghost Tactical coming up at 8. My show should be at 6:30. And G-Webs is going right now on the Daily Gun Show, so y'all hit that one up, and I will talk to you all later.